So in this session, we will give a brief introduction of SYNCHRO user fields and the formula. Okay. So first thing is that we will be working on an airport model, and then we will be working on the structural steel portion of that airport model. So I'm waiting for the file to be opened. So we'll talk about, first of all, 3D filters a little bit at the beginning. Okay, so here is the model. Okay. Yes. Okay, great. So we'll start with 3D filters. So by looking at the schedule, we can tell the schedule is primarily broken into erection activities, tasks, and also welding tasks, right? We'll be primarily working on the erection tasks. Okay, so you can see we have stage 1 and then stage 2, right? And then furthermore, in stage 1, we have tier 1, 2, right? And then for stage 2, we have tier 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's look at tier 1 activities. So you can see that in addition to the tier number, we also have section information there, right? So for individual activities, for individual tasks, we can tell that task is belonging to tier 1, section A, right? So it seems that each of the tasks will all have those information. So you may be wondering if such information exists in the 3D objects, right? So this model is a bit unique because everything is IFC. So you can see the 3D object tree is quite flat. And then one more important thing is that it is by the design of the software. So when you import IFC models into SYNCHRO, SYNCHRO directly creates the resources. And then in addition, all of the user fields, instead of being 3D user fields, they're now resource user fields. Okay, so all of the information are in resource user fields, in resource properties, not in 3D user fields. That's by design of the software. Next thing is that when we select a steel object, we want to know whether a tier and section information exists there. Okay, you can see for this particular project, the modeler actually did a good job because he also he aligned his model with the scheduler, the planner, and now you can see the 3D objects all have section and tier information. Okay, to further confirm that, we can go to 3D filter, and also to talk a little bit about 3D filter. Right click, add a 3D filter, and then call this tier. Okay, so in this case, I want to kind of filter by a user field, right? Remember, each 3D object, each resource has tier user field, right? So then I'll be searching for tier. Right, so this is not expanding for some reason. Let's see. Yes, now it's refreshed. And then let me check the box right here. And then in this case, let me key in the value 1. And then right now, if I activate this filter in my 3D view, I can see all of the isolated objects are my tier 1 objects. Okay, so I'm going to take off the filter and then see the whole model. This kind of verified my assumption that all of the objects have such information. Okay, right now I'm just using tier 1 to give an example. I can add another 3D filter, and then this time I'll call it section. Okay, so for the section 3D filter, of course, so for example, if I want to look for 3D objects belonging to tier 1 and section A, would I be able to find them, right? So for the section 3D filter, I'll still filter the 3D by user fields and go to the user fields tab that has been added, right? Then look for section, the keyword section, take the box and then key in A. This time I'm going to activate that in my 3D filter, and then it seems that these objects are belonging to my section A. Okay, so what if right now I activate both the section filter, which is already activated, and the tier 3D filter? Okay, so you can see when I activate section, this is really section 8, this is really tier 1, right? You can see this portion are my section A tier 1 3D objects. This is quite obvious. Okay. Furthermore, let's try something else. This is only to talk about, this is pretty much to give us an understanding of the model before we move on to talk about anything else, right? So here, let's take a look at this. So if we do work on the tier 1 3D filter, on the visibility of the filtered and unfiltered objects a little bit. So let's say for all of my tier 1 objects, instead of using the original color, I want them all to be like red. Okay? So when I apply this tier 1 filter right now, everything should be red. Okay? However, in this version, we introduced the color mode. Right now, since there's no appearance profile used and then nothing is assigned to any task, right? So if I want to see the filter color, I should go to the 3D view properties and then switch from appearance profile, which is the default mode, to 3D filters mode. Now you can see I am showing the 3D filter color. Okay? So similarly, I'm going to work on the section A section filter and then adjust the color from, original color to blue. And then I am going to activate that filter in the selector 3D view as well. So now you can see it's turning blue. So you may be wondering why this is happening, right? That's simply because, okay, first of all, the operation between the two filters is AND. Okay, second of all, when I apply section A, which is the last one that I applied, last 3 filter that I applied, the color settings is going to govern. Okay, so I could use those 2 arrows to move things up and down. So whichever filter on the top, that color, the filter colors for that 3D filter will govern. Okay, so and then I can also switch the operation to OR, and then take a look at that. Right? So if I switch the operation, this is pretty much telling me all of the 3D objects belonging to section A, right? Which are those? Right? We'll be using the blue color. Okay, all of the 3D filters belonging to tier 1. Although this part is also part of tier 1, right? But the 3D filter for the 3D filter color for section A will be applied instead, right? Okay, so this is pretty much to kind of get us started on this exercise. So right now, through this, we can verify, okay, all of the objects has section interior number. If you don't believe so, you can further try adjusting the values for 3D filters. Okay, so the next step is to to find out whether it's possible for us to auto-match the entire project, right? So, of course the answer is yes. Okay, so I need to turn off my Outlook. Let me close that. Of course the answer is yes. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at the, yes, since we're introducing user fields here. We're going to Project Controls ribbon and then go to User Fields. We're going to create 2 user fields and then work on them one by one. So first of all, we're going to create a resource user field and then we're going to call it tier plus section. Okay, so that's going to be a resource user field. The purpose of this user field is to kind of combine the tier number and then the section letter all together from each individual resources. Okay, so if I go to the resources window after I created that resource user field, right now I will be able to pull up that tier plus section resource user field right here. Okay, right now that user field is blank. Okay? So we're going to start with something really simple. So if we go to, again, the user fields window right here, and then find the tier plus section user field, which is here. Okay, then we can work on the formula. Okay, in this case, we're introduced the first type of kind of calculation, which is based on character or string or text. Okay, so when I click that little icon, so this is the user field formula editor window that pops up. So what I want to do is actually, okay, to combine. So let me see which way is better. Okay, so user field. Okay, right now I cannot see both. So let me try to reorganize my window a little bit so that I can see better. Okay, so what if I do this? Yeah. So right now, if I go here and then work on, this is the whole new world to everybody, right? So in Formula Editor, what we can do is that, what we want to achieve is that I want this tier plus section user field to become, for example, 1A. Okay. So, we already know that, okay, if I go to customize column and pull up tier, right, in a section, and then in the meantime, get rid of supplier, calendar, and all that we don't need, right? So this is tier, synchro section. Okay. Yeah. So for example, for this particular field, right, I could of course key them in to say like 2G, 2H, 2K. But there is a way to combine both fields so that it forms like a unique code that tells me the exact tier and section this 3D this resource is belonging to. Okay, so I'll go into Formula Editor. In here, I'll look for something called, because I need to combine tier and section. So I will look for the resource user field tier, and I'll also look for the resource user field section, right? Yeah. And then what's in between them should be the plus sign. Okay, that's just what I know. Okay, so you can type in the plus sign in the search box. Then what you will see is that, okay, so this is addition. Okay, this, for text, it concatenates two strings, okay, which is exactly our case. So what we're going to do is that we're going to select this one and insert, and then hit OK. Then I can select a couple of fields to make sure when I recalculate values, okay, I'm only recalculating the selected ones and then the leaf level resources. Okay, you can see now they can be quickly recalculated like this. Okay, I'm going to do all of them. Wait, okay. Yes, I got the wrong one. Okay, so now you can see tier and section. This unique identifier for all resources has been created. Okay, so there's a potential thing that we can do for this project. Apparently you know what I'm trying to do, right? So we can do the same thing for my tasks, okay? So however, for my task, it's going to be a bit complicated. So right now I'm just going to right click and add a new user field, and then we can call it tier plus section again, but this time this is going to be a task user field, and then it's going to be a string, okay? And then we're going to make it calculate. Okay, so I'm going to do similar things. I'll right click customize columns, and then I'll go in here and then go to tier plus section. This particular task user field is now displayed right here. So for example, for this one, right, I want this to be computed based on the task name and then the parent of the task name, right? I will be extracting 1 from tier 1, right? And then I'll be extracting A from section A dash erect plumb and bolt. So we can try to do this. Okay, let's see. Let me get rid of it. Okay, we can build the formula, which is also quite simple. Okay, so first of all, what I would do is that I need a tier information, right? That tier information is coming from the parent name, right? So I'll keep name. again, and then insert it, right? This time, instead of using that exact task name, I'll be using the parent object, right? So I'll contain parent right there. And then after parent, I added a dot, okay? So this is not enough. Oh, well, maybe let's take a look. So if I hit recalculate values and then uncheck all of the options, you can see I successfully got tier 1 already. So I just need to further work on this part so that I'm only getting 1 from tier 1, right? So in that case, I want to introduce another like a text formula, which is called write. Okay, so if I insert write right now and then copy, my tier 1 in there, and then typing 1 because I will be extracting from the right hand side of tier 1 and then with 1 character. So if I hit OK and then hit recalculate values either here or there, let me adjust the settings. Okay, you can see I've successfully got 1. Okay, so I need to further work on it so that I can get B from this as well, right? So what I can do is that since I'm familiar with it and then I know in between one of the tier and section I need a plus sign, right, to concatenate both. And then for the second part, it may look a bit complicated, but I am going to try my best and then explain this to you. So first of all, I want you to extract section B from the entire name. So that'll give me 9 characters from the left hand side. So what I will be looking for is left, okay? And then I will need the task name again. That's from the left hand side, right? That'll be 9 character. So let's take a look at this again. Okay, so I got 1 section B right now. Okay, but what I really need is only B instead of section B, right? So outside of section B, which is this part, I want you to get, 1 character from the right side, right? So I'll insert this one, cut and paste in here, and then add 1. Okay, so this will be the exact formula that you will need. Okay, so for these, I can select, expand tier 3, 4, 5, select all of them. Make sure when I recalculate values, I'm only calculating the selected task user field, which is tier plus section under task. That's a task user field. And I'm only processing the selected tasks. And I'm only processing the leaf level tasks. Okay? You can see right now, those are the tier plus section task user fields that I have created. And then you'll see where I'm getting at. So the next step will be selecting all of the objects, right? Selecting all of my target tasks, which are those, right? Then what I can do is that I'll assign resource to task, yeah, add a new one, say structural steel, right? Use only selected resources and then use only selected tasks. Make sure it's many to many, add a new one. So we're going to use a resource user field, which is called tier plus section, and then we're going to use also the task user field tier plus section. I'm going to uncheck the ones that don't apply to us. We don't have to create resources here because when we import ISC models, SYNCHRO directly create resources from those, right? It'll be an exact match. We can hit save, so we don't have to modify any of those. After that, you can hit search. See, this is the result that I'm looking for, and I can hit assign all to finish the assignment. Okay, now if I move my timeline, I will be able to see the structural steels be installed section by section. Okay, great. There's probably some more that's not coming yet, but you're gonna see them. Okay. So this is the first type of user field that we want to introduce. So we started with to summarize, we started with, a simple section, a concatenation between tier and section to form like a unique identifier for individual resources. Then we make it more difficult, and then to help you understand a little bit more how we can form that for the tasks. Okay, so that's this part. So you may be wondering, since we talked about the string type of user field, is there some other calculation that Synchro can do now that I have assigned the resources to the task, right? Apparently, if I select a resource right here, and then go to resource property, there is something called element net weight. Okay, I believe that's by pound, because this is a project in the US, right? So what we can do is that you may be wondering, okay, I have 295 objects assigned to this particular task. Is it possible to get a summation of all of the total quantity, the total tonnage of steel that's needed per task? The answer is apparently yes, right? So to look at this, we'll be looking at computing based on a number type of user field, right? So in this case, right click, add a new type of new task user field, and I simply call it weight, steel weight. Okay, or something very similar. And then for the category, I will make sure this is task user field, and then the type is number again. Calculation type, we can say calculate. And then I'm going to set a different color for this one. So you'll understand later why I'm setting this color. Okay, so similarly, I'm going to right click customize columns and then bring this steel weight task user field right here. Okay. So for this particular steel weight task user field, right, I'll be working on the formula editor again to enter here. So if it's number type of user field, so we can do some simple sum. Okay, returns the sum of all elements from the argument. That's the explanation at the bottom that I didn't explain. Okay, in this case, we're going to sum based on the volume, right? It looks like the net volume that we'll be using, which is a resource user field. I'm going to select that one. Weight. Oh, this is weight we're going to calculate. So yeah, so it's going to be net weight. Okay. In addition, if you don't add like the object in front of user field, Synchro will by default think it's going to be the same type of object as this steel weight user field. Okay, which is not the case, right? Because we are extracting and then doing like a sum of based on the resource user field. So we need to look for the object which is listed under object. That's called resource, right? So we're going to insert that, and then don't forget to add a dot behind it. Okay, so I don't exactly remember how to convert pound to tonnage, right? But don't forget that you can always do simple math, basic math, such as divide by 2000. Okay, so then in this case, we can do a recalculate values, and then these are my settings. Okay, and then you can select all of the tasks that you're interested to calculate, and then hit OK. Okay. Furthermore, yes, since we already computed, we already have a number type of user field created. Okay, right here, we can check this box and then go to Project Controls ribbon and then turn on user field graph. From here, you can get some nice time distributed data. Apparently there's something wrong with the schedule. But once I hit, I think the plan button, or the reschedule button, wait, okay, it's not really pushed out. But okay, so here it looks better. Okay, so yes, if it's a number type of user field, apparently we can plot a nice graph in the user field, in the Project Controls ribbon user field graph, but you need to understand how you want to interpret it. Okay, this is pretty much this session. I hope you like it. Introduction to user field and formula.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.